Welcome back. It's Sunday again, as you know, Appalachian Trail Day. I'm going to be doing things a little different, not necessarily crazy different. I'm still progressing south from Maine to Georgia, but I'm going to start talking more about just main events that have happened, big occurrences on the trail, not necessarily going day to day. So you may see that I'm going to be skipping some days coming up. But it's really just to hit all the main points of my hike to kind of get across big events that happened, things that really stuck with me so much so that I put ink on my body in remembrance of them, and then also really just I'm just not going to go by mile, day by day. It's going to be skipping some days because again, a lot of days were just hiking. There wasn't anything big that really happened. I may touch on some small things here or there within a few days, but really just going big event by big event, again, in chronological order from start to finish. But we left off where I had just spent my first night off the trail at the Northern Outdoors Lodge, which was great. I got to wake up in a bed for the first time. This was the morning of October 9th, 2017. So Riley and I woke up in a bed. We did wake up early. We woke up, I think, around like 6 o'clock that morning, to get all of our gear packed. Again, remember, I had to essentially play Tetris with my pack to get all the resupply of food in there because the next duration of time between our next pickup, I think, was around 12 days. So it was a really long time. Because again, those northern states, Maine, New Hampshire, and occasionally some places in Vermont, you're going a pretty good distance before you can get to the next post office or location to pick up your drop box. So really if you're planning a hike, really try to make it as short as a time frame as possible between your next drop offs or town days, because they're going to be longer than you think they are. It's going to take you a pretty long time, especially if you're southbound, to get through those miles. So be very conservative in how long it's going to take you to get places. I made that mistake, as you will soon find out. But anyways, we woke up Northern Outdoors. As I had mentioned last time, I had coordinated with Brandy that she's going to be taking us back to the trailhead in the morning after I grabbed breakfast. So Riley's still sleeping. I left some food in the floor for her in her bowl, not just on the floor. And so she's just kind of going about her thing in the morning. She's resting up still. I go and get breakfast. I had French toast, pancakes, eggs, sausage, bacon, you name it. Whatever they had on the menu, I had all of it, to the point that I wanted to throw up. But the big thing that I've always wanted on the trail, and ever since then, it's been what I have to have every single morning, first thing in the morning, is coffee. Something about being on the trail and not having coffee, that's the one thing that I really missed outside of people, family, friends. Materialistically, the one thing I really missed was coffee. Having a warm mug in my hand and just sitting there and relaxing with that mug in my hand and just smelling it. Not even necessarily just drinking it, just having that comfort in my hand. That was the one thing I really missed. So I had 5 cups of coffee that morning. And then after I finished breakfast, it happened to be my mom's birthday. So I gave my mom a FaceTime call, and then we talked for a little bit, and then I FaceTimed my boyfriend at the time, Will, and we talked for a bit because you don't know how long it's going to be in between really talking, not necessarily just texting, but seeing each other's faces, hearing each other's voices. It's usually a few days, if not close to a week, from town to town, because you don't just stop to call people or see them. You're always moving out there. So I did spend some time that morning talking to my family, and then I went and got Riley from the room. We packed everything up, made sure everything was in the pack. I didn't forget anything. And then Brandy gave us a ride to the trailhead where we had left to walk to the Sterling Inn, which is at the road. I don't remember the name of the road, but it's almost a half mile north of the Kennebec River. So Brandy we threw our pack in the back of the truck. Riley and I hopped in the bed of the truck, and we just rode in the truck bed over to guys, I'm like really scatterbrained this morning. Got a ride back to the trailhead. So that was my first time riding in a truck bed. I guess like it was a big highlight of my trail life out there to do that. It was really cool. It was really cold out because it's late fall in New England and the leaves are changing, and it was like a hazy kind of morning, not necessarily foggy, but the fog was been lifting up off the ground in the morning. So it was just a very beautiful, picturesque morning driving through the mountains. You can see the river as we're getting closer to it. It was just a very neat experience with Riley in the back of the truck. But Brandy drops us off where we left off because I didn't want to miss any part of the trail. And then we walked 0.4 miles, so almost half a mile from the trailhead that we got off on where Brandy dropped us off to the Kennebec River. Now remember, the Kennebec River is not wadeable, so fordable. You have to have a ferry, or a canoe in this case, take you across. You can try to ford it if the water level's low, but it is a dammed river, so if they release the dam, it floods very, very quickly. It also is like a flashy area, so if it starts to rain anywhere along the northern part of the river, that water volume is going to move downriver, and you just never know how quickly that river's going to rise. It's about, I'm trying to remember how far across it is, maybe 30 to 50 yards. I can't remember exactly how wide it is. It's a pretty wide river, and there are some areas where it is not crazy deep, but again, no river's just flat across. There's going to be some deep pockets. So we come out of the trees, we can see the river, we see there's a canoe there, there's like a little hut, like a shelter thing, like almost like a bus stop type of thing, but it's made out of wood. You can tell that's where we're going to be fording the river. So we approached the area. The guy there, he has a trail name as well. He's called Rob of the North, which we found really funny since my name was White Walker. So we talked about Game of Thrones for a little bit, and we're kind of bonding over that. He found out I was hiking alone as a female and was kind of worried, almost like a father figure in that sense, was kind of worried about me. Asked if I needed anything in the area. He gave me his personal phone number as well as phone numbers for his friends in the area that would be able to come out and give me anything or pick me up if I needed anything. So very, very, very nice and considerate man. So we signed the release forms, because you do have to have a release form in order to be ferried across. You have to put your name, your actual name, your trail name, where you're going, and then just sign the form. And then it's free. It's free as long as you are in season and you're there at the right hours of the day. There's working hours for the ferry. If you're outside of the season, outside of hours, it is a fee. There's a fee to have them ferry you across. And then there's also times where they don't ferry at all because the river may be frozen over. So you have to know when the available hours are. So again, just look at your guidebooks and plan accordingly. But as we were going across, he first of all, I hefted my pack up into the canoe, and he almost fell over in the process because again, I just resupplied. So my pack's heavy. I have 12 days of food on us for myself and Riley. So my pack's probably close to 50 pounds at this point. It's really, really heavy. And he gets even more worried about me because of how heavy my pack is. I'm alone, I'm a female, and I have a dog. Rightfully so. Tell him fine. Just keep moving on. So he puts a pack in, Riley and I get in. It's Riley's first canoe ride. She's been on paddle boards before, but she's kind of iffy, but she sits in the bottom and she just hangs out. She's great. And then as we start to get ferried across, there is a drift boat that had been anchored about mid-river, so about 15, 20 yards in. And it's 3 men fly fishing. So again, wide river, very open. It's a great area for fly fishing. You're not going to be catching trees. And as they're fly fishing, we all kind of just wave hello at each other, acknowledging that we're crossing the river. And then out of nowhere, everyone just kind of stops, and this huge bald eagle flies out from one of the trees. I believe it was on the north side of the river, and it kind of makes a circle around the drift boat, and then dives into the water, plucks a fish out of the water, and flies back off into the trees. And we had all stopped and watched this happen. And once the bald eagle disappears back into the trees, we all kind of just look at each other did you see that? And we're all hooping and hollering at it. It was super cool. It was really neat to see. And then Rob continues to just like take us over to the south bank, and from there we said our goodbyes. He again reiterated if I need anything to call any of the numbers that I had, which I ended up doing, but I didn't have phone service, so we'll get into that later. But yeah, so we got dropped off South Bank. We said our goodbyes. We met some northbounders that were coming up. We had to go up a hill and then down a hill, or like a big mountain. You're like switchbacking your way up a small mountain right as you get off the South Bank. And they're trying to make the ferry before it closes for the day, which is pretty early in the morning, so they have plenty of time. And we keep going, and then so up until this point, I had not had any rain on the trail. But remember, hurricane season is fast approaching, and then as those hurricanes down south on the East Coast move up, they become like monsoon rainfall up in New England area. So you get a good sense of like how the weather is going to be playing out based on like the cloud patterns in the day. So I by no means became a weather forecaster, but you definitely learn to read the area around you. So as we're hiking that morning, I'm like, okay, I want to make it to West Carey Pond Lean-To today. It's a 14-mile hike. I'm like, I'm not sure we're gonna make it there before rain comes in because it's looking a little iffy. So we get to the first shelter. I don't have it written down, but we get to the first shelter, and I'm like, okay, it's not raining quite yet. I think it's like another how far is it? No, 10 more miles, just kidding. It's 10 more miles, so that's like a few more hours of hiking, like three and a half more hours of hiking before the next shelter. And I'm like, I think we can get there before any rain hits. So we keep going, we keep hiking, we're just doing our normal thing, nothing really major happens. But once we get to the shelter and drop our packs, it's like the skies just open, and it just did not stop raining for about 12 hours, and it was hard, heavy rain. You could definitely tell hurricane season had started and it was making its way into New England. So from that point forward, we did start to see more rain. That is going to become a very big occurrence on the trail, and is a day that I actually take some days off of the trail because of the rain. And it was a very good choice of mine to do. But again, hiking the trail doesn't just mean going out and walking and figuring out where you're going to pick up food. It means really understanding what the weather is going to be like in the time frame that you're going to be hiking. Not just snowfall, but also rain, dry heat. If there's going to be water in the springs and stuff where they're going to dry up. So again, just really pay attention to the time of year that you're hiking, the area you're hiking through at that time, and then also closures for things like the ferries, towns. A lot of towns have not post offices, but like drop locations that do close. So make sure you're just really checking into all of those things. But we're going to leave it there. We are at West Carey Pond Lean-To. We're at mile 165.2. And we had already been ferried across Kennebec River, so the next big thing we're trying to get to are the Presidential Mountains, so Mount Washington specifically, before the winter weather hits, because that's going to be ridiculous to hike up with a dog, especially in the winter. So that's really where we're rushing to get to now. So we'll pick up at West Carey Pond Lean-To next time. Bye!